Yeah, g'day guys. Steve from Dirt Bike and Old As Adventures. Just out in the shed on a Sunday night. I'm not sure if you're aware that I went away to go away last weekend on Friday lunchtime, and the bike broke down. I got about 2 hours away from home, spluttered to a halt, put a jump pack on it, started it again, no problems at all, but only ran for about 10 seconds. Done that 3 more times. Battery was flat, jump starter was flat. I was a bit hamstrung. So I got it tilt tray to the nearest service station and just pulled in there and had a little bit more of a fiddle around, but by then my battery was flat totally and my jump start pack was totally flat. No kickstarter, so I was a bit done. Got a good friend of mine, Mark, to come pick me up and we brought it home. Mark's officially now a legend in my book for coming to pick me up on a Friday night in all that traffic, but thank you to Mark. Got it home, got up Saturday morning, got a few jobs done around the house and then started doing some investigation. So I got on the XT660 Facebook group site in Europe. It's a really good site. There's lots of resources there. Had a look in the file sections and you know, had a look at the service manuals and the owner's manuals and that sort of stuff. And also just sort of Googled on similar sort of scenarios of the bike spluttering to a halt and found a few different cases of you know, dead batteries, earth leakage, spark plug leads given up, all that sort of thing. So nothing really pointed to anything succinct. So what I didn't realise is in sort of Googling around on that Facebook site, people kept talking about error codes. I never realised these Yamahas have an error code system. So the engine light will flash at you, and I did notice it on the side of the road when I was turning it back on trying to start it again. Kept flashing at me. I go, well, what's going on there? Stupid Steve didn't realise that there's an error code system. So it was doing 4 slow flashes, 6 fast flashes, which is an error code 46, which says there's a battery issue. So that really narrowed it down. So absolute full marks to Yamaha for providing that. Dumb old Steve didn't know what was going on. So if I had realised then, I could have probably thought, right, okay, there's a battery issue. What could it be? Saturday afternoon, I basically worked it out. Decided to sort of do a bit of a test. Put a car battery down there, jumper leads up here, tested the system with the bike not running, 12.4 volts. Started the bike up, the bike was running, no problems at all. Started first kick, all good. Tested it again with the multimeter and still 12.4 volts, so it wasn't charging. So it narrowed it down, so the battery was fine. I had a new battery on order, so I just put that in when it came in during the week this week. And so it had a charging issue. So I jumped down, first thing I went to look at was the rectifier. Now just bear in mind, another scenario where Yamaha get full points. Looking through their owner's manual, they had test systems with a standard old multimeter on how to test all the components. The 3 relays under here, the starter relay and the other 2 relays, the oxygen sensors, the starter motors, and there wasn't one for rectifier, which is a bit of a shame, but just about every single electrical component on here, there was a test scenario for a multimeter, so you could quickly go around and test it. Because of the error codes, I didn't need to. I basically went, well, it's a charging issue, so a battery issue, so I sorted out that it wasn't getting charged, so it wasn't the battery issue. Went straight to the rectifier, pulled the rectifier off, tested that, found out how, from just Googling how to test the rectifier was fine. Looked at the plug and there was a broken wire on the rectifier plug. Simple as that. It's all it was. And it's been giving me a little bit of grief for a while, so I reckon the wire's been letting go for a while. But when I just grabbed the plug to have an inspection, the wire fell out the back and there it was, a broken wire in the rectifier plug. You can actually buy the rectifier plugs. And so I just bought a brand new plug that came in during the week, and basically I've just come out in the shed this afternoon, put my new battery in, put the rectifier plug on, and I'll just show you some footage of that, and started it up. Basically 12.5 volts with the new battery, 14 volts when it's running, so it's charging again. So that was it, just a simple thing of a broken wire. Happens, it's a 12-year-old bike. Certainly I tidied up a bit of other stuff just in the process anyway, just mucking around with a bit of wiring. But I'll just go through how I fixed it and where the problem was, and I'll drop some footage in of that. So here's the problem, guys. When I pulled the rectifier off to check that, and I have since checked it, and it was okay, the rectifier, but that wire there was actually snapped off in the fitting. Now, a couple of things. I could have actually finished it off. It could have been dodgy for a while. I could have finished it off as I pulled the rectifier plug out, who knows. But while I'm here, I did try and repair the connection, but it's pretty old. and you can still buy these plugs. So I just decided that I'd buy a new plug. So just so you got, I'll get that up nice and close for you. Hopefully you can, that's focused, but that's the part you need, an RM14105R connector. So they still make them. Just Google that number and it comes up straight away, and there's a local supplier had these. So that's a complete new plug. Seals, little rubber grommets, the seals and everything, so it's all there. So I'm just going to wire this plug in. So I'm assuming that this is the problem. As I said earlier with discussing the bike and the error codes and everything, it was coming up with battery. Obviously these charge in AC, so the stator charges in AC, it comes through the rectifier regulator and sends the 12 volt current off to all the different things, including the battery, obviously. So hopefully it was it. Certainly when I did actually put the car battery on and the jumper leads, the bike started and kept running, no problems at all. So it was definitely running out of power, but it definitely wasn't charging. I put the multimeter on the battery before I started it and had a nice 12.4 volts, which is what you'd expect a car battery or a good motorbike battery to have. Started the bike, and as it was running, I put the multimeter on there again, and of course it was still at 12.4 volts. So yeah, but because I had the car battery there, it would take a long time to flatten that car battery. So what's actually happened with me is, I'd say that I've ridden the bike for 2 hours, and it's just slowly the headlights go on these, and yeah, we've just gradually flattened the battery. And then when I've jump started it, it's got enough charge to run the ECU and all the systems for 10 seconds, and then it just runs out of power again. But by jump starting it, you just give it a bit of a surge of power or something. So anyway, hopefully this is it. We'll put this plug on now, put it all back together, and certainly turn the ignition on, see if we get any engine light warnings or error codes, and yeah, we'll go from there. Hopefully this is it, and hopefully I'll be away camping next weekend. So I've just labelled those 3 wires on the back there, 1 dot, 2 dot and 3 dots, taken a photo of that. I don't know about you guys, but I hate cutting off factory plugs, but got to be done. You'd much rather keep everything factory, wouldn't you? It actually does have to be done, unfortunately, and we've got a plug that's a direct replacement for it, so what can we do? So anyway, got all those wires stripped and set off. I've disconnected the battery because these two will be live, I believe, so we don't want them touching each other. So we'll put the new plugs on. Obviously the critical thing here, make sure you put your little rubber grommets on first, absolutely critical. It's an very old plumbing trick. You flare the copper before you put the nut on. Done that one a few times. Righto, you can see I've got those wires all, got all the connectors on them. So yeah, I just use a pair of pointy nose pliers and just sort of crimp them over like that. I'll pop those in, put the grommets in, and I'll put a little bit of dielectric grease around them just to make sure they seal in nice. There's a problem with these rectifiers, and I have heard guys turn them up the other way, but you got to extend the wires. The rectifier plug actually faces up, so a bit of moisture gets in and gets down around these little grommets, and yeah, it's not ideal. But I'll fill the top side of these up with some dielectric grease and chuck a little bit around the connectors as well too, just to make sure water doesn't get in there. So yeah, we'll put the plug on now, and so yeah guys, got all these tied on. I've got the battery disconnected, as I've said. I'm just using the photo here to reference here, and we go right, that one, black one goes in there. You sort of push them in and they sort of seat in, but you do have to hold them until you put the yellow fastening clip on the front. And we go 1, 2, 3. Righto, so I got the plug in. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit of dielectric grease around here, these, smear a bit in here, and just try and stop that water ingress. As I said, these actually plugs face up, which is a bit of a design fault. I'm not necessarily going to take the time and reverse it upside down, but I will take the time to just stick a bit of grease around there. Just try and displace any water that comes in there. We'll sort of smear that round a little bit and just fill up those cavities with a bit of grease, just to stop water getting in around those. I have heard people say this before, that when you get one of these you should go around all the contacts with some dielectric grease, and I'm going to do this as well. Just put it around the top here. Probably collect a bit of grit and dust over the years, but it will certainly stop the water coming in, that's for sure. But we'll put this back together now, guys. Chuck a bit of grease on the contacts, put this back together. I'm pretty confident this is all right. As I say, I've tested the rectifier, tested this with the multimeter, that's fine. So we'll put all this back in. I think I'll just sort of set all this up, wire it all up, assume that it's all going to be okay, and then we'll start the bike and run the multimeter and see if it's charging the system now. So yeah, we'll put it back together and see how we go. Righto guys, so got it all back together, got the rectifier plug all sorted hopefully. As I say, tidied up some wiring under the seat there. Feel like it should be right to go. So I've got a new battery as well, so we'll put the tester on the battery now and see what it's running at the moment. 12.53 volts. We'll see if the bike will start, see if we get an engine light. As I say, the engine light flashes if there's an issue. So we'll just let it run up, see what happens. Nothing there, should be right to go. Righto, no engine light flashing, so that's a good start. Let's have a look. Everyone hold their breath. We should have 13.6. 14. You little ripper. So there you go. That was the problem. Plug on the rectifier broken. That was the problem. Yeah, absolutely stoked. Looks like we're going away next weekend, guys, for a nice little desert run. But absolute full marks to Yamaha. You know, there's good in absolutely everything that happens in life, and I didn't get to go away camping on the weekend, but I got to find out a lot about the bike, and that is the error codes. The bike's got more smarts than me. The error codes and the ability just with the owner's manual, and that's on my phone, so I can do that on the side of the road. If I really had me stumped, between the error code and a multimeter. I don't always carry a multimeter, of course, but they're cheap enough that you could buy one on the side of the road if you really had to. You can sort of test the bike and sort something out. So absolute full marks to Yamaha. So the longer I keep this bike, the more impressed I am with this bike. So yeah. But anyway, guys, I'm going to put the seat back on and the panniers back on, and I'm going to get organised to go away next weekend. So pretty excited. If it doesn't happen next weekend, just probably only be the weather. Then it'll be the following weekend. But I get to do my little desert run that I started doing last weekend. So yeah, looking forward to it. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We'll hope to see you out in the trail soon.